Welcome to the Travel Agency Near podcast. I am Rachel K. We're on day 79, and I'm so grateful to have you coming back. Or if you're brand new, buckle up, Buttercup. All right. We're on the series of fears entrepreneurs face. Excuse me. And I did the top 10 on day 74, and now I'm diving into each fear on a daily basis. You're welcome. Pontificate on each of these episodes to see, is this a fear that I have? Is this something I need to work on? If you say you have zero fear, you are a liar. At some point, you will have one of these 10 fears, most likely, as entrepreneur, CEO of your travel business. All right. So this one is the fear of isolation and networking. And I have, if you're watching this on YouTube, chicken scratchy notes. You can't even read that notebook. Anyway. So, when you are starting your own business, oftentimes you will feel very isolated because not very many people are like, I'm going to start my own business. Amazon would not really exist if that were the case. You know what I mean? There wouldn't be affiliate marketing because you could just make your own product. And that's how we used to all be. We used to all have our own little job and we would work for our families, right? But now everything's kind of become globalized and very corporatized. It's kind of been, our culture has been influenced to not do anything for yourself, to be safe and get a 9 to 5 and have a good salary. So a lot of us do go down that path. And when you do this, you get a lot of crabs in the bucket pushback mentality. Here's some stories of my own experience when I started my travel agency. Not even when I started my travel agency, a couple years later, after I had started it, I started as a travel agent. I was working for another agency and then I went out on my own. And this was like, I went out on my own like during 2020. Oh, hey girl, how's that little travel thing going? What? Little travel thing? Every time I saw this person for years. And eventually one time I was like, "Oh, it's going well. I make about $50,000 a month now." And she just like jumped back. "Well, how'd you do that?" "Well, I work very hard." And I work for myself, so I have the ability to make that much money if I want to. Another one I got, "You realize this career is just a trend, right? This is just trending." Yes. Right now, at the time of recording this in 2026, travel advisors is one of the fastest growing careers in the United States. I have a sneaking suspicion it's a lot of realtors who are like, "Oh, I can do this," because they're not having so much luck with real estate, maybe, question mark. I don't know. I just noticed a lot of realtors have like funneled themselves into travel now. Why would anyone need a travel agent? Also, can you tell me how to get to the Pig Island from the Bahamas to go swimming? Can you tell me the best way to get to Belize? What areas in Belize I need to stay? Can you tell me if I flew into San Jose and Costa Rica? Can you quote an entire Alaskan cruise for me and help me get it booked because I don't understand the cabins? And then proceeds to book it on their own. That particular couple, nightmare. They desperately want to be travel advisors, but they're so scared of losing their stock options because that's 90% of the money, quote unquote, they make for retirement, that they can't quit their job. They're slaves. And I've heard those people at parties after people be like, "Oh, could you help me with da 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 da?" I've literally heard them go up to them afterwards and they're like, "I can find you a better deal." Like, then fucking do it for a living. Like, you are too wimpy to quit your own job. Anyway, you're going to run into that a lot unless you're around nice people, apparently. But that's the crabs in the bucket mentality. That is people who see you getting out and bettering your situation and they have to pull you down because they're like, "No, you're not allowed to be happy with your life. You have to be miserable like us. Keep drinking every day, be miserable." Yes, I've had a lot of people do this to me in my life. So if you haven't experienced that yet, go watch The Princess and the Frog, Disney's Princess and the Frog. In the very beginning, Tiana is like working her butt off and she's like, "I'm going to own a restaurant someday. I'm going to own a restaurant someday." I can relate to Tiana quite a bit. And their friends are like, "Girl, why don't you just get off work so you can come party with us?" Because I got that a lot from people too. And I'd be like, "I have to work. I don't have someone paying my salary. I have to create my own income." And then the reaction her friends have, oh, she never goes anywhere. She never does anything. She's so boring. And it like sucks because you have this passion to build this dream and it just Rachel Peterson, I think, also mentions the more success you have, the more isolated you become because people just don't have that same mentality. And I'm not saying like I'm super successful. I've won a bunch of awards or whatever. And also, I'm like toning everything down because I'm like, I don't need all that. I don't need that lifestyle. But it also is discouraging when you're around people who have zero passion in anything other than what their social media feed looks like or how drunk and how often they get drunk. Like that's you realize real quickly like these are not my people anymore. And that sucks because if you do continue to grow and become more and more successful and you really 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 want to reach new heights, you do have to change the circles you're in because you are the 5 people you spend most of your time with, unfortunately. Okay, sorry for being super weird and trauma dumping all of you. These are the horrible people I've known. Didn't name any names. All right. Then there's networking challenges. You could be in an extremely isolated area. Again, I was in rural Missouri when I started all of this. And I remember I was like, well, I'm just going to go around Lake of the Ozarks and talk to people. But it's a tourist trap. Like, I would talk to people and they'd be like, why do I need to go anywhere else? This is the most beautiful place on earth. And I'd also get from like friends and family, oh, I'm going to get kidnapped in Mexico. I'm not going anywhere that requires a passport. Really? You went hunting in Canada? Well, that's different. That's you having assumptions about different parts of the world and being afraid to go anywhere that we're not going to get into that mess either. Anyway, so it's very, very hard to network in like small areas that may not be your ideal client's spot. And you may have to do online networking. And networking is a lot like dating. So you got to put yourself out there or like being the new kid at school. How many of us have been the new kid at school and you just go in the cafeteria like in Mean Girls and everyone's all segregated? You're just like, I don't even know where to sit. I've been there. It's fine. You just sit down. But if your local network is really, really small and there's like not a lot of opportunity and you can't even like meet with BDMs for strategy sessions, consider moving to online networking because there are plenty of other entrepreneurs in general who are in your position and understand it. So don't be afraid to join Facebook groups or other online communities, Discord, Reddit, whatever, and make some friends and do some networking. Put yourself out there. All right, that was my crazy rant episode. It's very short. Come back tomorrow for more drama llamas, I guess. Bye bye.